Welcome to the Modules for Instructional Strategies, brought to you by the Georgia Department of Education. This is Module 11, Economic Geography, in which we will look at the levels of economic development. In this module, we will look how students can demonstrate mastery of the Georgia Standard of Excellence Standard Social Studies World Geography 6, Element A, through the use of sample lesson ideas with resources. Social Studies World Geography 6 reads, examine the spatial distribution of major economic systems and analyze the role geography plays in the economic development. Element A reads, compare the levels of economic development of countries in terms of gross domestic product, GDP, per capita, and key demographic and social indicators. For example, literacy rate, life expectancy, gender, access to healthcare, and UN Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. The sample activity demonstrated will not only allow students to satisfy the standard to be covered, but also demonstrate support for the connecting themes and enduring understandings that cross multiple units throughout all social studies courses. The enduring understanding for this module include gain from trade, which reads, the student will understand that parties trade voluntarily when they expect to gain. Also, production, distribution, and consumption, which reads, the student will understand that the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services produced by the society are affected by the location, customs, beliefs, and laws of that society. The activity presented in this module will have the students first research and be able to explain the UN Sustainable Development Goals, then use Gapminder World to investigate and compare current GDP levels with other social indicators. Lastly, present this information to the class. Step 1. The first step is to have the students become more familiar with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. These were predated by the UN Millennium Goals but have since been updated. To do so, direct the students to the UN Sustainable Development Goals webpage located at www.un.org/sustainable development and click on the Goal tab. Here you will see icons representing the 17 goals, ranging from the first goal of no poverty down to 17, which is partnerships for the goals. Step 2. Step 2. At this point, have the students select which goals they wish to study, or the teacher can make the selection for them. It is important that all 17 goals are covered. Note, depending on the class size, the teacher might want to have students work individually or in pairs. And if there are less than 17 students in the class, the teacher might want to teach on the remaining goals not covered by the students. Once the goals have been selected, it is time to move on to the next step. Step 3. The research. Going back to the UN Sustainable Development Goals webpage, have the students click on the goal icon they are researching. Here they will see information to collect and organize. For example, I will click on goal number 1, no poverty. And a list of information as well as related news will appear. They should focus on 3 main items when conducting their research. First, why is this goal important? Second, what are some current facts and figures? This will typically be the first thing they will see in the web page. And third, how is the United Nations attempting to reach this goal by 2030? Note, keep in mind that they will be representing this information in a comparison to the GDP of particular countries or regions. This I will explain in the upcoming steps. Step 4. Using the Gapminder software. Once the students have collected enough research to explain the 3 main points encountered in Step 3, they can now move to become familiar with the Gapminder website. Note, before this step, I highly recommend that the teachers spend some time becoming familiar with the online software. Gapminder is an organization that works with the United Nations Development Program. It is free to use and offers some very reliable and current statistics. Therefore, go to Gapminder.Org, click on the Gapminder World tab, and the Gapminder player should load onto your screen. If this does not work, they can click on the Gapminder.Org tools and it will give them an alternate version of this activity. So let me take a moment to navigate you through this software. On one of the columns, let's say this y-axis, we can decide to pick life expectancy in years. And on the x-axis, you have income per person or GDP per capita, okay, adjusted for inflation. On the bottom, you see a timeline. And each of the different bubbles represents a different country. The colors are color-coded with the regions represented. And you can actually move the timeline on the bottom. Let's say we were to go back to 1900. So in the 1900s, if I'm looking at these 2 statistics, you can see that the lower the GDP per capita per person also yielded a lower life expectancy. And as we progress through the last century, you see that as the wealth of nations increased, so did the life expectancy of the individuals of that country. Many of the subjects found in the UN developmental goals can be found using this software. For example, if we want to do health and we want to do, let's say, cancer rates, there are lots of things to choose from. We can have the exact same comparison through time. Allow the students some time to become familiar and to play with this particular browser. Students will use this information in their presentation. The students may choose to use some screenshots of the charts in their presentation or use this information as they best see fit. There are other options and things that you can do with the Gapminder software, but again, allow the students time to look and to play and to try different things and different comparisons. Lastly, the students will use this The teacher has flexibility on how they wish the students to present this information. But as with all other activities, a rubric should be created and provided to the students before the beginning of the activity. This concludes Module 11.